Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be taking a look at two of the new Speed Champions cars for 2020. This is the Nissan Nismo GTR, GTR Nismo R35 of course, and this is the Ferrari F8 Tributo, the latest, or one of the latest, in the 458 lineage. These are the first two Speed Champions cars that I've gotten my hands on that are in the new style, which is 8 studs wide, and it's significantly larger than the old ones. So I will compare at least one of these to at least one older car so you can start to feel and understand the difference in size. Let me start with this in honor of the fact that this is the first ever Speed Champions Japanese car. This is specifically based off the exact car that set a world record for fastest drift, actual fastest controlled drift, highest speed attained and held for a controlled drift, and as such it has the realistic set of graphics. Not all of the graphics are there. This one is missing quite a number of small sponsor logos on there, just because I'm sure Lego didn't want to go through the trouble of getting all of the licenses all over again just for this one toy, but they got the major ones on there that they were able to partner with. So stickers are important for this, and were important kind of in the project brief. So for folks who hate stickers, this one is a little bit rough to look at, to be sure, but there are a couple of printed pieces in there that are interesting. I will point those out. I just wanted to make sure that you got a good look at this thing overall. I personally, I can tell you right now, have a bit of a problem with the size of the wheels and tires here. They're probably not too far off in terms of actual scale, but the height of the fenders makes them look rather small, and that does mess with the proportions of the whole vehicle to me a bit. Overall, I think the shaping is pretty good, and what I'm most impressed with is the inclusion of this very large printed piece here. That hood is curved on multiple axes, and so Lego does not offer up decals, does not offer up stickers for parts that have those attributes, because it's very difficult to apply them. Incredibly difficult to apply them, so they're a little bit nice to us in that way, providing that large print. And then interestingly, these two 1x6 tiles used for the roof are prints as well. Just these two, which is odd to me, because they don't even really work that well, in my opinion. They don't really add a lot versus using just stickers. Maybe they'll be able to use these pieces again in the future, but just as they are, they do still have that bit of gap between them where you see the white. It's black printed on white. The black is very opaque, so that is good. The shaping around the sides, I think, is pretty good. It's very difficult to get these stickers to line up, though. I found I actually didn't attach most of the stickers until I was done with the build, and it was still troublesome. And you can even see some issues that I still had regardless, because the sticker sheet does have the webbing between stickers that are supposed to be adjacent to each other, and that webbing has some spacing within it. So the stickers are designed to have gaps between them, but I want to fill in those gaps myself so that I'm able to see just continuous lines. And you're just not able to really do it right. There is no right answer to applying stickers to something like this where there are so many different parts. You're gonna end up with some gaps, and you just kind of have to make judgment calls to try to do it to the best of your ability, which is what I tried, and it might not be the best that's possible. One last thing on the topic of stickers: if you want to make a version of this that doesn't have graphics on it at all, it's fairly simple to do, but you will need to add some of your own pieces. Since this is a print, you can't just leave the sticker off that. So fortunately, this is a fairly common piece, and also some of the side pieces are done in black, and you would want them to be replaced by white pieces to get a nice continuous, just white car look. I think the red ones look pretty nice as just a little tuner option, for some nicely set up Nismo specific body kit pieces. This is a new windscreen, so it's my first time looking at this for 2020 for these 8 wide vehicles. This is a 6 wide windscreen. Looks very much like the one that they did before for Speed Champions. It was 4 wide, but this one's 6, and it works very well. The great thing about, one of the great things about having the extra width for these new cars is that they can actually fit 2 full minifigures in there now with no problem. There is enough clearance in this one for the helmet of the figure to fit underneath. I know some Speed Champions sets in the past have had a little bit of issue with clearance with helmets underneath. This one, interestingly, actually has a gear shift lever. It has so much space available. Gear shift lever, and down there a little suggestion of an e-brake now, or e-brake handle. Those aren't necessarily in the correct positions. I think on a drift car, the e-brake handle is very much up in your face. It's very close because you use it a lot. But still, having both of those in there, I think, is a nice thing. And all of the new cars, well, at least the new cars that I've seen so far, are based on this new chassis piece, which is 6 wide and very specialized. Not to worry, LEGO has done specialized chassis pieces for ages, for many decades, and it's very important to get the figures down as low as they can go and to offer up as many possibilities as they can. And if you look at designer interviews, you will find that they put a lot of thought into designing this specialized piece to give it a lot of flexibility. The wheels are different this year than they were previously. Previously, they had axle holes in them. Now they have Technic pin holes. So basically, that little tan piece that's an axle pin just gets rotated around 180 degrees from what we're used to from Speed Champions. And also, that axle holder piece is new, 6 wide, and it has axle holes on either side and then plenty of studs on top. There's a better look at the figure by itself, and this is an exclusive new figure to go with this team and introduced specifically with this set. He does not have an alternate face, so what you see there is just it. Pretty good printing, I would say. The quality is good. It feels good. The opacity of the prints that are there look good to me. And I'm happy that they included an extra headgear piece for this guy. So he actually has hair. So you can have a helmet off version of him. And I have encouraged LEGO to do this more and more, and they have done it more and more. I don't care if they're listening to me or not. I just care that they are doing this. They are including an extra hair piece with helmeted figures, and it just adds so much more value. I think it allows us to do much more with the figures, how we pose them and everything. So I'm happy to get that. And he also includes one of these, the wrench piece, which helps you to get wheel covers out. Speaking of wheel covers, here are all of this set's spare parts. So the leftovers in addition to the extra set of wheel covers that they always do include. With all the changes to Speed Champions, they are still including 2 sets of these every time they include any of them. So there may be some cars that don't have wheel covers at all. But anytime they include at least one design, you get at least 2 designs. So you get some 5 spokes as spares here, and these are the rest of your extra things. How many stickers did this set come with? A whole lot. LEGO's Ferrari F8 is something kind of special. From what I've seen, pretty much everybody who looks at this says it looks really cool or awesome or something like that. Although, not everybody agrees that it looks like a Ferrari F8. I personally am in the camp of doesn't quite look like a Ferrari F8. Looks a little bit more like a Vector W8. To me, old car, mostly by virtue of the shaping of the window. However, the side windows that is. However, I can definitely attest that this looks so much better and so much more like a Ferrari F8 now that I've actually built it and in person than it did in pictures. It looks much better. I think that the pictures, the original official pictures of this thing did not do it justice. And also it's very important how you place that sticker that is just at the back of and representing the very back of the side window on either side. If you leave a gap there so you don't push that sticker all the way forward and you leave a little red gap in front of it, it breaks things up and just doesn't look right. As long as you place that as far forward as you can, then from a lot of angles, it actually looks pretty good to me. The overall shaping of the window piece, the windscreen piece, does leave some things to be desired. But overall, I mean, there are very few stickers used on this set. So most of what you're seeing in terms of detail and everything is accomplished with just plain parts and shaping. And this increased size has allowed not only just a general widening of these cars, but it's allowed so much more detail to be built in. And you really feel that as you assemble this. Now this car has some interesting prints that come with it as well. So this right here is actually a 1x4 modified tile or modified plate piece with 2 studs on top and then a print in the middle. That's one single piece in that little indentation there. An interesting choice, but that one works out pretty well, especially for its placement. And then down below, these 5-sided Nexonites shield overlay pieces that are used down here at the air dam at the splitter, those are printed as well. But see, those don't work as well because they have that big gap in the center. That is not intended to be there. It's supposed to be just black all the way across. So, sometimes prints work. Sometimes stickers actually allow you to get something that looks a bit better. It's interesting though. I do appreciate the attempt, if nothing else. And then the best print by far is that little Ferrari logo right there on the side. That's just a 1x1 plate. And they have a total of 3 of them in the set. One of them is a spare. And that's fantastic. I love that so much. That is absolutely deluxe. So that's done super, super nicely. And I actually had a spare in this set of the printed 1x4 piece. But yeah, just overall, I think the detailing on this is pretty good. The depth of everything is very nice. The building techniques are enjoyable. It's fun to put this together. You do want to wait to the end again to put most of the stickers on so that you can align things to the best of your ability. Helps a lot. The only thing that I personally don't like about this one is that the fenders are tall. Fenders are quite a bit tall, and that makes the wheels and tires look smaller than they should be. Brickset, in their review, or actually just after their review, actually did a comparison of the scale sizes and found that the wheels and tires on this model are almost perfectly correct, but it still doesn't look quite right because the arches above are so high. Now here we have another new windscreen piece for 2020. This one is 6 studs wide at the base, but then 4 studs wide at the top. This is also an exclusive print for this model. They may use it again on other red supercar type things, but this chine right here, that line, depending upon how light hits it, so in different lighting conditions, that can really mess up the smooth look of some vehicles. I think this works better on more angular vehicles, but on this one in particular, it's one of the things that for many of us has detracted from the scale realism of this car. Here once again, we have the ability to put 2 figures in there comfortably, and there's a little center console sticker down there. The steering wheels do not align just right with the drivers in these, which is just it's one thing we kind of have to deal with at this time with some of the builds that require some pieces on the sides that are in the way, so they're not able to offset that. Maybe some of these will be able to get that right, but for a lot of them, this is kind of the price we have to pay to be able to get 2 minifigures in there side by side. I think it's an okay price, though. I really like that driver position. However, this set in particular does have one issue. I mentioned on the GTR that there was enough room for the person to sit in there with the helmet. Well, on this one, there isn't. So look right down at this corner of the window piece. You see there's a gap there. There is no room. There's no fudging space available to move that figure around to get him at an angle that allows this windscreen piece to come down all the way. I'm sure that Lego designers did maths in their computer-aided design program and found that there was just enough space for it to fit, but there isn't. There simply is not. So that is unfortunate for something that's so finely done. It has just one little issue. Don't know how that came about, but yeah, just doesn't quite fit there. Fortunately, it's subtle, and most of the time you're not going to notice it. Especially like here, you see the ridge is very, very subtle from this piece here to the window piece, the windscreen piece. But it is there, and so I did want to point it out. I'm not the first to point that out either. There's a better look at this one's figure, and I really like the print on the torso there. It looks very classy to me. And also, the print quality is good. The white is pretty solid and bright, and the edges of everything just worked out pretty well. I like the dark red color. There's no printing on any other piece, but the print on the back of the torso is looking pretty good as well. Happy with this, and this figure does have an alternate face. Both of those expressions, I think, are fairly useful, fairly universal, and once again, that includes a hairpiece, so you can use this guy helmet off. Excellent. I think that's the same piece that was used for the Rise of Skywalker Finn character, and he has a wrench as well. Looking at the spares, I did get one extra of that printed 1x4. I don't think you're supposed to, but let me know in the comments if you happen to get this set and you do get one of these, or if you don't. I'm just curious if that's intended to be included because it's a printed piece, but there's no extra of the printed 5-sided tile piece. But I do get an extra one of these 1x1s, which is definitely expected and nice to get. And also, of course, an extra set of wheel covers. Those don't look as good as the stock 5-spoke ones in my personal opinion. And here's the spent sticker sheet, so you can see this still does come with quite a number, but not nearly as many as the GTR. For a size comparison between the old 6-stud width and the new 8-stud width of Speed Champions cars, I brought out a couple of alternates here. This is just a plain Ferrari from the Speed Champions line, and then this is an older 458 racing version, but still 458, which is the same base platform that the F8 is derived from. We went from 458 to 488 and then to F8. But this one is actually my modified version of a 458. I think it was a GT2, GT3 car, whatever it was, racing version. But my modified one actually moves the windscreen piece forward by a stud, and basically the whole dome is moved forward to give it better proportions. So this actually looks a little bit better. But here, this is just a stock LaFerrari. But obviously, you can see there's a huge difference in size. It's not just about the width. It's not like they took one of these and then just stretched it a little bit. One of the biggest changes here is that you're getting this 6-stud width at the dome, at the base of the greenhouse here, compared to the 4-stud width of the old. That is a dramatic change. Plus, you have the additional width beyond that. So you just have such a larger car here. It's not just like the difference between a 4-stud wide car, a 4-stud wide car, and a 6-stud wide car. In my opinion, it's even more significant than that. 6-stud and 4-stud wide cars in some scenarios can actually look decent with each other. These look like they're done to a completely different scale. If you ask me, they just don't seem compatible at all. This is a single center mounted driver position design. This is an offset driver position side-by-side design. The wheelbases, interestingly, aren't that different. Got a little dog hair there. Wheelbases aren't that different, at least on these two. There's a difference, but it's not that different. The width obviously is hugely different. The overall length is more significant in difference than the wheelbase. We just keep kind of multiplying as you look at more different things, but just the overall visual presence of the new cars just makes them completely incompatible with the old, in my opinion. It's like you have to start a new collection with the 8-stud wides. That said, 8-stud wide is so much better, just looks so much more realistic. It's not going to fit into most Lego cities and such, while these kind of could, at least in some scenarios, depending upon how you did your sidewalks. But this is just a completely different thing entirely, especially, you can compare this to relatively recent 4-stud wide city cars. This is on a different level entirely. And that brings me to one additional potential point of contention with the new 8-stud wide Speed Champions for 2020. These are $20 each for the individual car kits. The previous ones, previous to now, were $15 each for the individual kits. Now, previously they had very, very good price-to-part ratios, but the new ones have pretty good price-to-part ratios as well. More importantly, though, you see just how much more you get for that increased price, that slight increase in price. Well, it's a 1/3 increase in price, but I feel like you get more than 1/3 more car, more than 1/3 more vehicle here. Granted, you don't get any side builds. Some of the older ones, a lot of the older ones, would have a small little side build just to basically fill in the extra budget that was made available to designers, the part budget. They would use those to create some little thing, a little camera stand or a little starting light or a little bit of curb or something. These don't have that, but yeah, you pay more, you get a lot more. I still think that the value here is pretty darn good. I feel like, forget about the old ones. If I look at either of these cars and I look at the price, I feel like that is an appropriate price for what you get, for the volume of stuff that you get there compared to other sets that are available at a similar price. If you look at like Lego City vehicle set that is, or vehicle specific or vehicle focused set that is $20, I feel like the amount of stuff you get here is comparable to that, and the quality is very good on these. I'm really happy with the inclusions of some prints, even though some of them aren't as good, I feel, in the end results as stickers could be. A lot of people clamor for prints, so it's nice that Lego is trying to give those to us. Some people hate stickers, some people get stickers, some people prefer stickers. I don't know. At least with stickers you can leave decorations off if you want. You can't do that with prints, so there are definitely pros and cons to the two ways of going at it. But value-wise, I feel like they've done well here. The designs are good. They definitely, I think, in person look a lot more like the real cars than they did in the official pictures, like I mentioned before. But that GTR definitely has wheels and tires that look way too small. They look too small on the F8 as well. But as Brickset has already proven, they are correct to size. It's just that the fenders are so tall, and it's a much worse situation with the GTR in this case, in my opinion. So they're not perfect, but they're so much better than the old ones in terms of how they look. If you're willing to accept the fact that they're a completely different scale, and there's no way they will work with most Lego City or Lego minifigure based dioramas on old scales that people have used in the past. Similarly, stuff from the 80s doesn't look so good with stuff from even 2019, 2018. You just look at town versus city, change happens, and Lego just keeps making their vehicles, their base vehicles, bigger and bigger, which is interesting. In this case, I think overall it's a good thing, just something that is going to take some getting used to. And I don't think the new and the old will ever really live comfortably with each other. Anyway, that's my look at these. I did spend extra time in this video in particular since, like I said, this was my first time looking at any of the 8-stud wide ones. So in future reviews on other 8-stud wide Speed Champions vehicles and vehicle sets, I won't go into all the details. I won't do all the comparisons and everything. I'll just focus on what I got. And for folks who want the comparisons, they can just refer back to this video. So that's that. You can check out the builds for these. I did build the two in at the same time, or one right after the other, in combined build videos. So you can see the real-time build on my Pure Builds channel with ASMR quality, really, really good sound. No talking, no whispering, nothing creepy that creeps you out, but just the sounds of the pieces going together. And I also have the speed build version also, if you'd rather just see that. So check out one of those if you'd like to, and I'll talk to you again as soon as I can.